right, free agency is alive and well, and we are finally back live inside the Bobby Baltimore YouTube channel and across all social media platforms. I appreciate your patience throughout the course of this offseason. Obviously, we've been daily, and I've been daily with Sarah over on the Vault pretty much all offseason long. We have been all offseason long, but between travel to Indianapolis, New Orleans, several offseason projects, and now doing a working vacation for the month of March in Florida, I just haven't had as much time as I typically dedicate to this channel. But it doesn't mean it has not been for a lack of effort or for a lack of trying. I know I've been doing a lot of pre-recorded content. We've been working on a ton of projects for this upcoming season. So I'm really looking forward to it. And again, I just wanted to say thank you because I have not populated this channel as much as I typically do. So appreciate your patience. And let's talk about day one of Ravens free agency. I think this episode is brought to you by my friends at Primary Residential Mortgage, by the way. More on them in just a bit. Some great incentives available to you as a Bobby Baltimore subscriber that you can read about in the ticker that's streaming right now on the bottom line and also in the pinned comment and show notes. But, there's one thing about the Ravens, and of course there's exceptions. Marcus Williams in 2022 comes to mind. Derrick Henry a year ago comes to mind. They don't typically, they're so consistent. There's so much continuity, and they believe in their approach, and they are steadfast in their approach to team building that they're not typically big spenders this time of year. Now, that's not the sexy thing for this week. And when you see other teams that are backing up the Brinks truck for certain players, maybe as a fan, you're kind of bumming and it feels underwhelming. But ultimately, and of course, yes, there are outliers, there are exceptions, but ultimately big spenders doesn't always translate to big wins and consistent winning in the National Football League. So it can feel a little boring. It can feel a little underwhelming. The reality is, and I'll continue to say this, and it's not news to you if you guys have been following the Vault, the Ravens have everything they need, in my estimation. They will retool in free agency. They will retool as needed in the draft. But ultimately, I'm not expecting any big splash signing. Could come via trade. We'll see. The draft is typically a sticking point, and who knows? They do have a decision to make on Mark Andrews. I just get the sense that they're going to run it back, and ultimately, it's going to come down to player execution. That's the way. That's how I continue to feel in this current era, this current phase of the Lamar Jackson era. They will continue to bring talent to him, stack talent around him, but ultimately they've put themselves in a great position to, while it's boring, especially as a fan this week, kind of sit back, let the other teams make decisions that have big implications from a team building standpoint and a monetary standpoint, and know that they have hit more often than not in the draft. They will hopefully continue to do so at edge rusher, at corner, perhaps even at wide receiver, and let the chips fall as they may. Safety, of course, is a need for them as well. Appreciate you guys for being here. Let's dive into what's taken place just within the last hour or so. And of course, when the Ronnie Stanley domino falls over the weekend, I don't think it really came as a surprise that Patrick McCary would end up leaving. And that's exactly what took place earlier this afternoon. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN, friend of the show, noted that McCary has agreed to terms with the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's a 3-year deal, $37.5 million, has a max value of $39 and over $20 million guaranteed. And if you've been following along with Patrick's story over the years, what an awesome one it was in Baltimore. He had a nice run. Jeff is spot on. He signed as an undrafted free agent in 2019. He started 53 games over 6 seasons and started a game at every single position up and down Baltimore's offensive line. But obviously, the priority, deservedly so, was Ronnie Stanley. We'll get to him in just a bit. Their franchise left tackle is not going anywhere. That deal got done over the weekend. as I lose my train of thought because I'm on Aaron Rodgers' watch. That could be the next domino that falls at some point today to Pittsburgh, but nothing yet. We'll keep up with it. And of course, if they continue to ride with Daniel Fa'alele at right guard, all indications are that that's absolutely going to be the case. Perhaps Andrew Voorhees is McCary's replacement. And I happen to think that there's a lot of untapped potential there with Andrew. And had he not gone down with an injury last year, and had they not felt so confident because of all the years that McCary gave them to just slide him into left guard, plug and play, I think you would have seen more of Voorhees. And I think you have not seen the end. You have not seen the last of Andrew Voorhees as a starting guard in Baltimore. So Patrick McCary heads to Jacksonville. It's a nice payday for the jack of all trades, master of none. And I really don't mean any slight by that whatsoever. This guy was a Swiss Army knife for Baltimore, and I got to know him personally during my time in radio. He's a pro. He's a consummate professional, and now he gets the payday that he deserved from the Jaguars. But the reality is the Ravens weren't going to be the ones writing that check because they had this on the books already from over the weekend. Ronnie Stanley, as you've probably already seen, officially agreed to terms on a 3-year, $60 million deal. It keeps him in Baltimore. And make no mistake about it, when you take a look at the market and what's taken place at the tackle position, had Ronnie hit the open market, we'll never know, but all signs point to if he had, he would have gotten a lot more money that he ended up getting with Baltimore. But I got to tell you, Ronnie has obviously received a decent amount of criticism, some of which has been deserving over the years due to his lack of availability. But he built himself back up, had a Pro Bowl resurgent season in 2024, took a pay cut, right? A prove it year, if you will, and he proved that he's still got some left in the tank. He's on the other side of 30. He's been with the Ravens since what, 2016, if memory serves? He's not going anywhere. 79, had he hit the open market, would have made a friggin' chunk of change, whether it was from New England, whether it was from Kansas City. But the Ravens understand that, let's be honest, without a healthy Lamar Jackson, what are the Ravens? I think we know because we saw it. We saw it at the end of 2021. We saw it at the end of 2022. And I got news for you. The Ravens aren't much without number 8 under center. And Ronnie Stanley's sole presence, right, his sheer presence alone means so much to the success of Lamar Jackson. And look at the numbers, too. Next-gen stats here. Charted left tackle alignment for the 2024 season with a minimum of 200 pass blocks, which was the threshold here. And they look at longest time to pressure. Ronnie finds himself on this list. Trent Williams leads the way. Beast, Hall of Famer, 3.67 seconds. Ronnie, 3.41. And you see that little note right there, the footnote. Stanley has allowed a 0.6% sack rate since 2018. That's the second lowest by any tackle with at least 1,000 pass blocks. So again, there was a long time there where you were wondering if 2019 Ronnie would ever resurface. And I'm not going to be naive to the moment. The historic 2019 Ronnie we may never see again. But quite frankly, if he can give them more of what he provided and aided this line as he did last year, the Ravens are going to be better for it. Lamar will be better for it. Point is, this was the biggest priority, the biggest domino that needed to fall for Baltimore. And as intriguing as Roger Rosengarten is as a prospect, and potentially in the future sliding over to be their future left tackle, why not fortify and bookend, right? These bookend tackles have now stabilized Baltimore's offensive line for the next 3 years. Roger is on his rookie deal. He ain't going anywhere. He'll handle right tackle duties, and If his trajectory continues to move in the direction that it appears to be, they're going to be just fine. And if Ronnie continues to stay healthy, continues to stack, you already know your centerpiece, pun intended, in Tyler Linderbaum is here to stay. You have to think that he's on Eric DeCosta's priority list when it comes to extensions, as is Kyle Hamilton, of course. He takes priority over the two, but draft classmates from 2022. And at guard, again, like, Sarah and I had a good little debate earlier today in terms of what our priorities were, like top 5 priorities in terms of position moving forward. And I didn't have guard high up on mine because I think there's guys in the building that can compete. And I think the Ravens have told you, without actually telling you, that Fa'alele is going to continue to be their starting right guard. And so with that in mind, Andrew Voorhees is in the front runner position to be your starting left guard. And to only be a year removed from essentially a full rebuild of this line, with really only 1 or 2 questions, I would say really only 1 question going into 2025, 1 year later, I think you got to tip your cap to the Ravens for how they've handled business. They took a risk. They took their lumps earlier on last year. But a year later, it's honestly the least of my worries going into the draft and going into where they currently stand in free agency. Another domino that fell just a short while ago here. And by the way, I should mention the early projection, courtesy of Over the Cap. Remember, when players leave in free agency and get deals, that comes back around in the future in compensatory picks. And we know the Ravens have always valued their formula to team building when it comes to acquiring compensatory picks when losing players. That's exactly why they did that whole Deontay Johnson shuffling. They brought him back, obviously. Should he sign elsewhere, could very well factor into the formula. But right now, having lost Brandon Stevens, which we'll get to in just a second here, and when I say having lost, they let him walk. Only one player had more coverage yards allowed this year. My buddy Jake Asman, who you guys have gotten to know. We do all our travels together in the offseason to the Super Bowl, to the Indianapolis, so on and so forth. He just texted me saying, "Hey, what can you tell me about Brandon Stevens?" And I'll tell you what I texted him back. But just to finish that thought, was essentially they're in line right now, having lost Ronnie and Brandon, to receive 2 future 5th-round compensatory picks. Just so we're clear. Jake says, "What do I need to know about Brandon Stevens?" I said, only one player gave up more yards in coverage last year league-wide. He really struggled after a breakout 2023. He's a former college running back. He was drafted as a safety. He has tons of potential. But if you go back and look at the tape, he was targeted all year long and struggled with ball skills. He'll be with you stride for stride. He's an athlete, and he's unafraid, but he lost his confidence at one point last year and really wasn't able to overcome it. He'll benefit greatly from the change of scenery, sticky in coverage, great locker room guy. I think it's going to work. I think it's going to work well for him in New York. But that's what I texted Jake. And look at the money. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN sat down with me in Indianapolis and referred to Brandon's market as sneaky good. That certainly came to fruition. Mike Garafolo here noting that it's a 3-year, $36 million deal the Jets are giving Brandon. Yes, he's a former 3rd-round pick. And now, as many Ravens go on to do, he's New York Jets bound. And guess who's going to be his quarterback? He's not on the offensive side of the ball, but he'll be going against Justin Fields and Tyrod Taylor. But Justin Fields is going to the Jets on a 2-year, $40 million deal, $30 million of which is guaranteed. We'll get to the whole quarterback carousel in just a bit. But a lot of these dominoes are falling. Perhaps Rodgers is the next to Pittsburgh, being that DK Metcalf was required over the weekend. Who the hell is going to be throwing to him? Is it going to be Russ? Is it going to be Aaron? Sam Darnold ended up in Seattle, got a great payday. Happy for him. Love his story. And we've got over 500 concurrents in the building. Tila, like the video on your way in. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Hit that notification bell so you can be notified of when I'm dropping my live content. I would say daily live content, but that has not been the case this offseason. I appreciate your patience. Love that you guys are here with me today. This was the group, as Jameson noted. The top 10 free agents, some of whom are already on their way out of Baltimore. McCary and Stevens. That leaves Pat Ricard, Malik Harrison, Nelson Aguilar, Tre'Davious White, Tylan Wallace, Chris Board, Josh Johnson, and, of course, Deontay Johnson. I think Ricard's going to stay. I think Malik may end up staying the more and more I think about it, unless somebody backs up the Brinks truck for him. He's a very versatile player, special teams guy, played inside and outside for the Ravens defensively. I think Nelly walks. They're going to try and replace him, which should be pretty straightforward to do, especially when you take a look at the veteran wide receiver market. Chris Godwin's no longer, by the way, on that list. He's staying with Tampa Bay. I know he was an intriguing name for some of you. Tylan Wallace, could see him back on a really modest kind of deal. Chris Board, special teams ace. Perhaps they value him. Josh Johnson will be gone. And, of course, Deontay Johnson. We all know why they kept him around after all of his antics. They're going to try their best to reel in a compensatory pick. We'll see if that ends up happening. Appreciate you guys for being here. I will open up the guest lines, by the way, in just a bit if you guys want to talk NFL free agency. Matter of fact, while I get a read in here, I'll drop the link in to see if you guys would like to say hello. Guest lines are open, and that gives me a chance to tell you a little bit about what's going on at Primary Residential Mortgage right now. The home buying process, of course, alive and well for several of my subscribers so far this offseason. I continue to hear from you guys via DMs, via email. It's awesome. When you guys use my brand sponsors to help out your own lives, to help out you and your families, honestly, there's nothing that's there's nothing that's more gratifying than that. If you're looking for ways to make your home buying process even more affordable and convenient, look no further. Primary Residential Mortgage. I've been working with these guys for years now. They're excited to share an exclusive offer that can help you achieve your dream of owning a home. And here's what they're doing for you. They're giving away $100 gift certificates toward closing costs for qualified applicants. This means you can save on one of the essential steps in the home buying process, making it easier to achieve your home ownership goals. To redeem your certificate, just simply scan the QR code that you see right now or click on the link in a couple different locations. One, as a pinned comment in the live chat. There's also a link that you'll find at the top of the show notes. The certificate is valid for 90 days from the date of your receipt. The offer itself ends May 1st of 2025. So don't miss out on this opportunity and take this limited time offer to save on your home buying journey. I would love for you guys to click that link, fill out the information for you. PRMI is an equal housing lender and NMLS ID 3094. Looks like we have a trade that just took place. So let's go to it. What is happening right now? Kenny Pickett is on the move. The Philadelphia Eagles are trading Pittsburgh's former quarterback, Kenny Pickett, to the Cleveland Browns for a 2025 fifth-round pick and their backup, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. A live trade. That means we're getting live reaction here. Let's bring it up on the screen via the screen share feature and digest this one together. Kenny Pickett is once again on the move. His third team in how long now? Shoot. Feels like it's been, what, it was Pittsburgh. It was then Philadelphia last year. So third team in less than 3 years, if I'm not mistaken, right? So here you have it. Could Kenny be seen by Cleveland as their bridge? And what will they do with the number 2 overall pick? Do they like Cam Ward? Do they like Shedeur Sanders? Or do they have their sights set on the 2026 class? And perhaps they're not done? Kenny could be their backup. And they may chase after a different bridge, a more starter caliber, if you will, bridge, like a Kirk Cousins. Curious to see what this means for them. But clearly, Deshaun Watson isn't going anywhere in terms of what they owe him. He's literally going to make, I think, $46 million next year, and probably, maybe, has played his last snap. So, this is AFC North news here. The Browns continue to be in no man's land, but yeah. What do you guys think? Is Kenny and this acquisition for Cleveland a bridge, or is he seen as a backup? Because they just gave up their backup and a pick. Right? Dorian Thompson-Robinson started some games for them. His first ever start was against the Ravens. How'd that go for him? Brutal watch. But I'm very curious, and we'll obviously figure this out in the coming weeks, depending on who they chase down. But again, Cleveland sits at the number 2 overall spot come April. Would not be surprised if they only view Kenny as a backup. But hey, hasn't gotten a ton. What, did he get a full season in Pittsburgh before they shipped him? Let's go to the guest lines. It's open. It's been a minute since I talked to this guy right now that I see in the waiting room. And as usual, he's multitask grinding. It is Dre down there in the ATL, looking like $1 million. My tan's not there yet, so I'm not quite at $1 million, maybe $500,000. What's going on, brother? Great to see you, man.
What's up, baby? How you doing, man?
I know. It's crazy, right? I haven't done much live here this offseason so far, just because we're working on a lot of projects, a lot of exciting stuff on the back end, and I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good, man, and I'm in Columbia, South Carolina.
Oh, excuse me. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Were you?
Somebody else is at ATL though.
Okay. All right.
Somebody else
Excuse
is.
me. Columbia's finest. Columbia, South Carolina. What's on your mind, brother?
So real quick, I just want to give a shout out to you, Bobby. I can appreciate a brother that works hard, and you definitely are out grinding. You are living your dream, bro. Like, you are living your dream. And so I'm really proud of you for taking a chance on yourself. There's so many of us that don't give ourselves the opportunity because of fear, doubt, insecurity, whatever it may be. So I'm glad, Bobby, that you have taken the chance and bet on yourself, and it's paying off, bro. I'm proud of you, man.
I appreciate that, dude. I really haven't expanded on this whatsoever, but I'll tell you real quick, and then I'll give the mic back to you. I actually just put in my 90-day notice to my place in Baltimore, to my landlord.
Oh, wow.
And don't know what that means. Not sure what that means, but what it does mean is that June 1st, I will be living somewhere other than Canton. It doesn't mean anything's changing when it comes to the day-to-day with Sarah. Nothing. It's not a professional change whatsoever. But I think it's become pretty clear to those that listen in that I'm kind of scratching and clawing and looking for something that socially and romantically maybe can give me more than what Baltimore. And I'm not saying I've given up on Baltimore by no stretch, by any stretch. I think it's more so, hey, now's the time. And I think that's maybe what you're alluding to. Now is a moment. It feels like it's a moment right now, just like it did 3 years ago when I launched this channel and I decided to go full time in the digital space. So more to come on that. But what you got for me on free agency?
Well, look, bro, real quick. Look, bro, consider South Carolina. It's a conservative state. I know you have some conservative views, right? So I think politically it may match a lot of how you are politically. South Carolina also is the central to the South. You don't mind jumping in a car driving. You can get to Tennessee in 4 hours. You can get to Florida. I went to Jacksonville to the game. When I watched the Ravens play Jacksonville, I drove down there, got there in 3 hours and 45 minutes. You got Atlanta's 3 hours away. You can go to the mountains up in Spartanburg and then go down to the beach within the same weekend because it's all connected. So consider it, man. Consider it. And the dating market, from what I hear, is not too bad around here. You got a lot of professional women that are very, very down to earth, man, from everything that I've experienced.
Hey, look at you selling your place. I love it.
Yeah, man. Come on, man. You come down here, we're going to turn up. We're going to turn up.
Hey, you already know I've been experimenting with St. Pete over the last – I'm in Orlando now, but St. Pete was – getting to St. Pete last week was really eye-opening. I just kind of felt like it was a very vibrant scene. And I'm not sure if it matches up with me lifestyle-wise, but I just felt like wow, this is a very active lifestyle.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
so anyway, more to come on that. You and I will
yeah,
we'll get after that another time. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the start of free agency.
yeah, man. I'm happy that we got Ronnie Stanley back, man. That's a big get, and we got it at a conservative number, so that's really
Yeah.
good. Um, what I would hope is that I would love to see the Ravens kind of go in with some not restructures, but giving guys extensions. Give Roquan an extension. Give Lamar an extension. Because I was saying in the chat to you guys the other day that the Ravens had a potential to free up around $47 million by restructuring or giving Lamar an extension, giving Roquan an extension. Unfortunately, letting Tucker go, doing the trade for Mark Andrews, and letting go of what's the cornerback we had that was hurt all last year.
The
I'm forgetting his
corner that
name.
was hurt all last year, TJ
Yeah,
Tampa.
No, not TJ Tampa. I'm sorry, he came back, but we didn't see him. Um,
He
that's
came.
why we went and got Tre'Davious White. He was a slot guy. Um,
Oh my God, why can't I?
I know
Wait a second.
I'm drawing a blank, bro. As soon as you say his name, we're gonna get it. We're gonna be like, oh yeah,
Wait a second. The corner now because here's the funny part. I'm looking at the Kenny Pickett stuff right now, and you're asking
yeah.
me a question. Okay, so you're talking about the corner that went
Mhm.
down, and that's why they got Tre'Davious. Why you talk about you talk about Arthur?
Yeah, Arthur Millette.
Okay,
Arthur Millette.
okay.
So if you let go of Arthur Millette, trade Mark Andrews, let go of Justin Tucker, restructure Lamar, restructure Roquan, you could free up around about $47 million, right? If you do what the league standard is, or give a little bit more than what the league standard is. Josh Allen just got his deal, so you would probably give Lamar a little bit more, but you would have the ability to free up like $47 million. With $47 million freed up, and your pieces, and a couple of those pieces, Lamar and Roquan mainly being locked in. I know Roquan kind of had a down year, but them two being locked in for the next, in another 3 years or so, or whatever the case may be. 47 million, $45 million is a lot of money. Before going into the draft, mind you, and you could just take your time and pick, go get you a D Hop, go get you one of these pass rushers, whether you get a guy like Matt Judon coming back, or we got a
Zedarius.
couple of
Yeah.
Zedarius coming back, or get both of them, maybe. Jadeveon Clowney's back out there. I think the Ravens have a unique opportunity to kind of really go into this, depending on how aggressive they get with their extensions. If they can extend these guys out, they got to make a decision on Mark. That decision, they can't wait on this decision, because they got $1 million that they about to have to pay him coming up, right?
I was just gonna. It's a March 20th date. Let me get the actual
Yeah.
number for you, just so that we're being thorough here.
Yep.
Andrews is due. Let's see here. March 20th, a little bit more than what you just said. March 20th, a $4 million bonus
Four
is due to
million.
Mark
Yeah,
Andrews.
they got to
So
figure it out this
it's
week.
currently
They
the
don't have
10th.
any more time. They don't
Yes.
have any more time to play with that. We can't just give Mark $4 million and then go trade him later on. We
And
need to make that
obviously,
decision.
yep. Obviously they know they are well aware of that. And obviously
Yeah.
something's got to give between now and then. Dre, it's great to see you, dude.
Yeah,
We'll,
man.
we'll catch up
Proud
soon.
of you, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
All right.
Thank you guys for being here today. Obviously, it's day one of the well, I said technically it is day one of free agency, even though the new league year hasn't officially begun. That's 4 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday, the 12th. As you guys can see, I am not in my studio in Baltimore. I'm down here in Orlando doing a working vacation. Let's see the latest domino to fall. And I know some of you were pushing for Charvarius Ward. That is no longer going to be the case. Let's see where he's heading. He's San Francisco's corner, and he is a stud. It looks like he's going to Indianapolis. All right, screen share feature we go. Stand by. You know what we do here. And I see the guest lines as well. I'll get to you guys in just a sec. D. Shaw and Manny. Great to see you guys. Appreciate you patiently waiting in the room down below. But here it is. Tom Pelissero, friend of the show, former 49er, CB, Charvarius Ward is signing with the Colts. It's a 3-year deal worth up to $60 million. He gets $35 million guaranteed, including a $20 $20 million signing bonus. And this just kind of continues to emphasize what I think is going to be the Ravens' approach this offseason, and that is leaning on their homegrown talent in the building, drafting a corner, and maybe, just maybe, a latter half of free agency signing like a Tre'Davious White. I just don't see them dabbling in this market in free agency and spending big money on a corner. They need to replace Brandon Stevens. You know you have Marlon in the slot. You know you have Nate, Nasty Nate, on the outside. And let's see what TJ Tampa is all about, the former fourth rounder out of Iowa State. TJ, of course, last year really got off to a tough start because of that double sports hernia surgery. By the way, Lou Anarumo is now the Colts defensive coordinator. Not only are they bringing in Charvarius Ward, but they got a safety as well in Cam Bynum. So trying to rejuvenate their secondary. But from a Baltimore perspective, again, and Sarah and I had a nice debate on this, which is why I was trying to explain, hey, corner is not in my top three in terms of needs. For me, it goes edge rusher, wide receiver, safety, cornerback. That's my top four. Let me know what you think in the live chat. But this is the latest news that just came down the pipe. Charvarius Ward heading to Indianapolis, and he's getting paid by the Colts. Back to the guest lines we go. I appreciate you guys for being with me. Please like the video on your way in. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Hit that notification bell for live content. D. Shaw is in the building. Happy free agency to you, my friend. What's going on?
What's up, Bobby, man? How you doing?
Good to see you, dude. Have you called in before, by the way?
No, I haven't, but I've been watching your content recently, man, and I love your content, brother. I bleed purple. I've been seeing you at the combine, talking to all the heavy hitters, getting in there, man. So I'm
Hell
proud
yeah.
of you, man.
I
Yeah,
appreciate that. And that, honestly, like I said right off the top, it's been a very unique offseason sprinkled in with, travel and a lot of business, like back end business stuff that just requires time. And so I kind of made a decision after I got sick, actually, because that's the way the offseason began from the
right,
freaking Buffalo plague. And I made a decision. I was like, I just can't, like, something has to be sacrificed here if I want to attack this offseason the way that I want to. And
right.
unfortunately, that just became sort of cutting back a little bit on the daily live stuff. But that will continue to grow. We're literally, our to-do list has been, I mean, there are so many freaking check marks, check that we've done over the last 2 months. So hopefully you guys have been able to see through that, understand that. We got a lot coming up. So
Oh
thanks,
man,
man.
Bobby, it's all good over here, man. Love your content regardless, and I understand how it is when you're trying to create a balance just to realize it don't exist.
Yeah,
So,
right? I'm telling you. I'm telling you. We got a first-time caller in the building, long-time subscriber. What you got for me today, D-Shaw?
All right, so the question that I have for you is this.
Where'd you go? Somebody's calling. Who's
My
calling you?
apologies, Bobby. My apologies.
No, you're good.
Number one, I want to. Do you think that Cleveland is going to make a play for Cam Ward? Right, that's one. And number two, if the hypothetically, right, if the Steelers was to happen to get Aaron Rodgers, do you see that as a legitimate threat right now? If they was to get him right now,
Let's start with the second of the
okay.
two. I think it's yes. And I caught some flack about this earlier today during our noon show, but I'm standing on it.
Mhm.
Aaron Rodgers joining Pittsburgh. First of all, the Steelers have emerged as, if I'm one of these free agents that's looking for a home, and
Right,
at the beginning of the day, it was Sam Darnold, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Daniel Jones, who's probably, you can't put him in that class, right? But he's looking for a team, and somebody's going to
right,
view him. Somebody's going to give him another chance, whether it's as a backup or elsewhere.
right.
Um, Now, obviously, Darnold's in Seattle. Justin is now in New York. So the options are starting to kind of dwindle. If I'm a remaining quarterback, it's Pittsburgh. It is Pittsburgh. That's the most attractive option. We
Right.
know what they are defensively. We know the continuity and consistency they have at head coach. We know the way they're sound organizationally wise. They just made a completely uh, unlike them decision to
Mm,
roll up the freaking Brinks truck for DK Metcalf,
right.
bring him in there, potentially pair him with friggin' George Pickens, which the jury's still out on whether or not that's going to be a successful formula.
Right.
They have to retool off on the offensive line wise. Let me tell you too, who's blowing up your spot today? Does that work?
Yeah, man.
Well, you got a missus crawling on you?
I'm a real estate agent, man. So sometimes it just get a little crazy. So that's all.
Well, what's
Just
hysterical is that we got a sponsor right now, Primary Residential Mortgage. They're going to want to hire you. You're a highly coveted guy, apparently. God damn.
Nah, not yet, man. I'm trying
I mean,
to get like you, man. I'm just trying to get up there.
hey, you spoken for romantically, or you got hinge chicks chasing after you like me?
No, my wife is right there in the house, man. So I ain't gonna say nothing too strange.
Plead the fifth. Plead the fifth. Unreal. But it's a long way of saying, to me, Pittsburgh will be more than formidable with Rodgers. I get it. He's going to be 42 by the start of the season. He is not a mobile quarterback. They have struggled to protect their quarterback in recent years, and they have to get the offensive line together. But to me, and again, I'm not saying that it makes them Super Bowl caliber
Right.
as an organization. But to me, I think they will be more than competitive in the AFC North with Rodgers under center. And then remind me what your first question was.
Real quick. Now, if you think they make that move, do you think it's because Tomlin on his last, like, this is like this he got to make this run, he out of there basically.
Honestly, dude, you know how these organizations are built. Dude, Tomlin's 52. Belichick was Pete Carroll is on the other side of 70, and he was just rehired
Yeah, right.
to go to
Right.
Vegas. Mike, let me just say this again. Mike is the longest tenured head coach in the league. Man, I wish I was as sought after as you. Honestly, I
Bobby,
wish I was.
I'm sorry, man. I'm holding up the chat, man. I'm sorry.
Hey, I wish I was as sought
I'm
after as you, D. Shaw.
I'm a
Okay.
tune back in, Bobby.
All right, brother. We'll catch up with you soon. Let me tell you, don't we all want to be loved like that? D. Shaw is loved. And by the way, I hope his missus isn't watching. Do we think this is real estate? Who do we who do we think set this guy up, man? Do we can we float out some ideas here for who's hitting up my guy D. Shaw? Because my man is a candidate. Whoever needs to get to D. Shaw, and hey, can we just say a prayer? Hopefully this is all in good fun. This is an emergency. Whoever's hitting them up, and that it's actually business. But I think we all strive to be as hot of a commodity as D. Shaw appears to be. I'll leave it at that. Where the hell was I? I literally have no idea where I was. Manny, help me out. You're my placeholder. Great to see you, brother. Happy free agency to you.
Happy free agency. Well, we were just discussing if those were real estate calls or not. So,
hey, and speaking of a guy that's the hot commodity, I mean, look at you. You get your high and tight haircut for this live stream. You saw me go live. You edged up yourself, didn't you?
just a little bit.
It's good to see you, dude. What's on your mind today?
Quick, just before I speak on free agency. This segment is not sponsored by Baja Blast. So,
hey, listen, if we're flashing brands, I expect you to reach out to them. All right, give me a little trial run, will you?
Hey, I've tried, but they haven't answered. So
you guys already know. You know I'll take Celsius and/or Ghost, and this is solely because of daylight savings, by the way, and having a rowdy weekend with my family. Anyway, what you got?
What I got, well, I was expecting, because you were in Indianapolis, I was waiting for my list of the draftees. So,
yeah, honestly, I have to tell you, admittedly, because it was my first combine experience, next year I'll go in with essentially my PSA next year will be conversations over prospects, because where Radio Row is nowhere near Lucas Oil. So I didn't have a chance to watch a lot of these guys one-on-one. I was just in the middle of a lot of opportunities to have conversations with the Jeremy Fowlers, with the Chris Sims, with the so on and so forth. So again, it was less prospect driven and more networking, I would say.
Yeah.
So, and it just, live and you learn.
Yeah, it's all right.
Oh, and let me make sure Luke is taken care of here. Luke wants to know what the great Ravens news is, and here's what I think it is. Okay, you just lost two players that you were absolutely expecting to lose, and you let walk,
Yeah.
right? In McCary and Stevens. The great news is that right now you are projected to receive 2 fifth-round compensatory picks in exchange. And that's just projected. That could change. Right now, over the cap, Nick Cordy is projecting that the Ravens in the future, I think it's 2026, will receive 2 fifth-round compensatory picks. So that's just, I think it's good news. I think it's great news from a team building standpoint. We know that mid-round, day 3, they've hit on in the past. And this is their time of year. This is Eric DeCosta and his scouting department's time of year. So just to make that clear, based on how this video is built, and now the floor is yours.
All right. Thanks. Needs O-line and D-line because,
yeah.
hey, even though, okay, we let McCarry go, but the status of Cleveland in the doghouse of hearts, it's still unknown. Andrew Voorhees, even though he was great at the beginning, he got injured. They never placed him in again, even though he was healthy. I expect him to be healthy, but you know how injuries go. It's like once you're out for just a few weeks, you lose the speed of the game. And
Yeah, and Manny, honestly, when I was in Indy, when Harbaugh and DeCosta met with the media, my question to him was, hey, would you feel comfortable if you were to lose Ronnie in free agency, shifting Rosengarten down to left tackle? Now, he went on to say, hey, we're keeping Ronnie, and they did.
yeah,
But then I followed up on that, and I said, hey, what ended up happening to Voorhees? Was that solely based on availability? He goes, look, he lost his spot because of the injury. And because of how much McCary has given them over the years, he's built up a level of trust. I think my interpretation of how he answered my question was, hey, we stuck with the continuity. We stuck with what worked. We stuck with what we trusted. But that doesn't mean they've lost those things or lost that trust in Voorhees. I think he's absolutely the front runner to be your left guard.
yeah, and I expect him to actually be healthy through the rest of the season because, okay, he goes down. You don't got McCary. Cleveland is still in the doghouse. I don't know if you're going to put him in, even if it's necessary because
Cleveland's gone.
Arts.
Yeah.
And on the other side, I mean, you saw it on the Super Bowl with Philadelphia. 4 guys, just 4 guys tormenting Mahomes. Where are 4 guys? Oway, he's just there. Oh, and KBN, we don't know if he's gonna come back on a friendly deal or if he's gonna produce the same level. Then you got what? Ojabo, Harrison, Tavius,
And
and
Adisa.
yeah, well, I expect Adisa to actually be more on the field, but I don't know what happened over there because of all the problems we had on the secondary with Marcus Williams not getting into the program. Uh, Speaking of that, actually, I think where Brandon Stevens' confidence broke, since you alluded to, I think was in that second Bengals game on that Jamar Chase touchdown because he was on stride, he was covering his zone, and then just Williams disappeared, and he was like, I'm never gonna be held over here, so I have to do everything. So on that remark, I think he lost his trust over there. Second of all,
trust and confidence. There was one other player, one other defensive back that gave up more yards and coverage this year than Brandon Stevens. He had a target the size of what on his back.
Yeah, and wide receiver, I expect Tylen to be back, but other than him, who's next? I mean, we saw it on that game. It's just Tylen and who was it? Nelly?
What, the 90-yard drive, you mean?
Yeah.
It was Anthony Miller, Tylen. Was Sims out there? I can't remember if Sims was out there, but
Sims was a returner, but not as a wide receiver.
Oh, okay. I gotcha. Hey, by the way, since we're speaking about wide receivers and just kind of monitoring the veteran market, Houston is signing Justin Watson. So Godwin's going to Tampa. Watson is going to Houston. There's been a couple other moves as well. But that's the latest there. Obviously, Devontae Adams is going to the Rams. We had that conversation last week. That was never a realistic one. I think we just did it for the purpose of the exercise, much like we did DK Metcalf, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, he ends up in division. What a freaking shock. This is something I wanted to discuss right here because I'm telling you what, look, man, much like Houston's been able to do while CJ's on his rookie deal,
Yeah.
the freaking Washington Commanders are building around Jaden Daniels. Look at this shit.
Yep.
The Texans are finalizing a trade for Laramie Tunsil, meaning sending him to Washington.
Yep.
And they're going to get, the Texans are obviously going to get a draft pick haul. And by the way, they pick a couple. If I'm not mistaken, they pick at 25. Ravens are at 27. I have to think they're probably going to be looking for a first-round tackle. But why I'm bringing this up is, and they're in the NFC, so not really going to bother the Ravens. But this is a team right now, Washington, that's acquired Deebo Samuel, that's brought in Adam Peters from San Francisco to serve as their general manager.
Yep.
Right? You go and get your future Hall of Famer in Tunsil now to protect CJ, Jaden's blind side. You know the talent, the skills, the skill players they have. This is going to be a dangerous team for years to come, and especially while they're capitalizing on Jaden's rookie deal in that window.
Yeah, and I think it's more so like they took notes of what the Ravens didn't do on I don't want to say 2019, but 2020 onwards.
Yeah.
Because it was like a magical season 2019, and it showcased the talent, and it was like, okay, now let's build around him now that he has shown you that he can get us to the playoffs easily through the regular season. And well, I think we're beating a dead horse at this point, repeating on what just happened.
Well, let me add this in here. A lot of people are asking what the great news is, and I've already mentioned the compensatory pick formula and the project. And I see that over the cap is projecting 2 5th-rounders, future 5th-rounders for McCary and Brandon.
Mm-hmm.
I see Brian McFarland, friend of the show, Ravens salary cap analyst, saying 4th-rounder. So we'll see how it's all projections right now. And Brian is obviously as smart as anybody when it comes to the cap. But I think the other piece of great news that the Ravens got is watching the way things have shaken out in the last 24 hours at tackle, right? And it really, really makes Ronnie's deal looking incredibly team friendly for what they're getting.
Yep.
Right? It's 3 years, $60 million. Now, not that this is in comparison, but Morgan Moses, for example, is going to New England. Well, guess who New England wanted? Ronnie Stanley.
Yep.
Guess who Kansas City wanted?
Yep.
Ronnie Stanley. And had he hit the open market, man, good night. They would have backed up the Brinks truck for him. I don't care if he's on the other side of 30. I don't care if he's only put forth one healthy season in the last several. This is a player that when he's at his best when he's at his best, it was 2019. It was historic. It was all pro and then some. But his current best post-injury is probably Pro Bowl caliber, and that's damn good enough for the Ravens. And so Morgan Moses is who the Patriots settle on. It's a 3-year, $24 million deal worth up to $28.5. He's 34. But the reason why I'm bringing this up, Manny, is that this is massive for the Ravens.
No, it's huge.
The fact that they were able to retain Ronnie,
yep,
right, at such a team-friendly deal when you look at the way the market is dictating things at the tackle position, you cannot. They put a price tag on it, but you really can't.
We actually got three of the 5 pieces like locked in. Like we know we're good. Right tackle, left tackle, center. It's just a matter of the guards.
Yep.
You know, if Voorhees is healthy, I don't care if Falalele is over there at right. It's like, okay, we can send all the runs through Voorhees with Derek and Justice. And on quick passing situations, it's on the right until Falalele responds to the level that the rest of the O-line members are.
Yep.
On that note, of passes, well, not more so passes, but more so players. I think the manager situation has been dragged on too much
The
right
what?
now, and in a way that I feel like if EDC and Andrews understand how right now the things are with the cap situation in the Ravens, it's like we need to work this, like spread your money as much as we can, like working on a deal, because we're not gonna have it even if we take Tucker out and Stout kicks all our field goals and our extra points. Who do you see the Ravens drafting, like all of them and not paying anyone? Because we don't have the cap space with it.
No. You're prepared. By the way, you're prepared. You want to use Jordan Stout. I know he kicked some field goals at Penn State, but you're prepared to turn the freaking keys over to him?
Yes.
Come on.
Despite the allegations, here's what I want. I want him as punter and kicker like we had Bedvick, and Tucker just the Sam Cook route if he's going to stay on the team.
Manny, I got news for you. I don't think he's going to be anywhere near the team. Dude, I know, and I want to be respectful to everything, right? Because they are allegations at this point, but it's double-digit allegations, and who's to say that there aren't more coming down the pike? So I would not bet on him being anywhere near the organization come September 1st.
Yeah, but
and maybe sooner than that. I mean, I don't want to say he might be a post June 1 designation, right? In terms of how they choose to handle his release, but yeah, I wouldn't bank on him being in any way involved with.
No, I'm not banking. It's just more so, how the NFL sometimes.
Yes. There's a reason why Deshaun got what he got in the aftermath of all of his off-season stuff.
And it's like, okay, if you want to manage it like that, league, I got no issue. But you know what? I want Stout to just start kicking, because I've seen, no lying, I've been seeing kickers right now from college. Not this year. Next one, there's two kickers over there that are kicking like 60-yard field goals almost here and then in their games, but they're still not eligible for it. So I just want that one extra year. I don't want them to be juniors. I want them to be seniors.
I got you. Great catching up with you, brother.
All right. Same
Talk
to you,
to you soon.
Bobby. Hey,
Yep.
You owe us an update on dating stuff.
I owe quite a few things after several weeks of quiet on this channel, but more to come. There's a reason why I'm on the run this offseason. You'll see.
Oh.
No. Hey, listen, if there were true developments to share with you, I think you'd know.
Fair enough.
Later, brother.
All right.
Talk to you. Manny down in Mexico. What else should we discuss? Damn, Garrett Cole undergoing Tommy John surgery tomorrow on Tuesday. That is a big deal for the AL East, for those of you who follow baseball on this channel. Maybe I'll sneak in some Orioles content when time fits moving forward this offseason. This, of course, took place over the weekend. I'm sure you guys have considered this one quite a bit over the last couple of days, but the Steelers are sending a 2025 second rounder to Seattle for DK Metcalf. He's signing a new 5-year, $150 million contract with Pittsburgh. The $33 million of new money average makes it the largest deal in franchise history. This is uncharacteristic, to say the very least, for Pittsburgh. Crazy enough, they don't know who's going to be throwing to DK. But based on the tea leaves, it sure seems like Aaron Rodgers has pole position, to use one of Mike Tomlin's phrases. So, right now, Aaron's wide receiver room, DK and George Pickens, a lot of personalities to go around. If I'm Hard Knocks, I'm calling Pittsburgh right now to get them signed for 2025. It'd be pure entertainment. Think about it. Rodgers is on the McAfee show every Tuesday. DK is having his in-game tirades George is having his in-game or sideline tirades. What more could you possibly want? And then just for good measure, have Russ in there to compete with Rodgers. Have them in the same quarterback room. You think they'd go for that? Yeah, I don't think so. But that would be literally box office kind of shit. This was pretty box office. Not this specific slide. It'll be the next one on Myles Garrett. But just for those of you who've been following the mass exodus in Philadelphia, Josh Sweat is going to the Arizona Cardinals. It's a 4-year, $76.4 million deal, so take him off the table. That was a fantasy land anyway. Khalil Mack staying with the Chargers, fully guaranteed, $18 million deal. He remains in L.A. We had this conversation on the vault within the last couple weeks, but obviously the Ravens need to get younger. They need to get younger, and they need to hit on that position come draft time. That's what I'm hoping for. Maybe they'll dabble in the latter half veteran free agency market at this position, as they will perhaps with wide receiver. But you got to get younger. You have KVN as your veteran for at least the next year. You have Odafe Owe, who's in line to get paid. But outside of that, you got a lot of question marks. Will David Ajabo make the team? Will Adisa Isaac develop in year 2? What's it going to be? A lot more questions than there are answers there. Myles Garrett, massive deal given to him by Cleveland. He goes from trade requests and causing all sorts of freaking drama. Deservedly so. I mean, obviously he can command that kind of drama. To, by the way, just becoming the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history in a matter of days. I remember being out in New Orleans for the Super Bowl on Radio Row, and he requests a trade, right? Tries to take the leverage, and then shows up to Radio Row and proceeds to do just about every single national interview and national outlet show he could do. He is staying in Cleveland. And while that sucks for the Ravens, just you got to see him twice a year. Honestly, he hasn't proven, one player has not proven to be the difference in Cleveland. And so while he'll obviously continue to be the game record that he is, the Browns are the Browns. And if history continues to repeat itself, sure, they split the season series with Baltimore last year. It was a totally disappointing loss when Jameis Winston was under center and Kyle Hamilton should have had that game-sealing pick on him. But this doesn't this isn't daunting, right? The fact that he's staying in the division. Sure, it continues to add to the intrigue and see if the Browns can be competitive. But I didn't think this was back-breaking for the Ravens whatsoever. I've mentioned this a couple times now, but just in case you missed it, Justin Fields, it's a 2-year, $40 million deal for him in New York, $30 million of which is guaranteed. He is going to be the starter for the New York Jets. He'll reunite with Garrett Wilson, his former college teammate. And I can't wait to see him get a fresh start because they went away from him last year in Pittsburgh after a 4-2 start because they wanted to give Russ an opportunity. He took him to the playoffs, so it was a one-and-done exit to Baltimore, as we all watched. I don't think he was set up for a great amount of success in Chicago, and they have a seriously, seriously talented roster in New York, and I cannot wait. I think he is so deserving of another chance, and that's exactly what the Jets are banking on. They are giving Justin Fields another shot at being a franchise quarterback, and I'm looking forward to it. Sam Darnold, one of the greatest stories in recent memory in NFL history. He is going to Seattle. A resurgent season in 2024. I almost said 2024 with Minnesota earns him a 3-year, $110+ million contract. That's $55 million guaranteed. He gets his first true, legitimate, life-changing deal in the NFL. He will be Geno Smith's successor, of course. Geno is joining his former head coach, Pete Carroll, in Vegas. And there you have it. Congratulations to Sam Darnold. He is heading to Seattle. So, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Daniel Jones, et cetera, et cetera. Got to figure out where their landing spots are. Certainly seems like there's a lot of smoke right now. Is Rodgers heading to Pittsburgh? Time will tell. And lastly, just because there was some talk about Darius on his own podcast within the last couple of years that the Ravens apparently made him a great offer, but he stayed in Philadelphia, got a Super Bowl title out of it a year ago. He is coming to the AFC North, but not to Baltimore. He'll sign with the Steelers. Look, I don't think there's much left in his career. I think he's still absolutely, he's got ability. I'm just saying I don't think this is like somebody that you can count on for more than a year or two. But Darius Slay is going to Pittsburgh. He'll join the Steelers secondary. I know a lot of you wanted the Ravens to make another play at him, but he chooses Pittsburgh. And will he be going up against Aaron Rodgers in training camp practices? That remains to be seen. Thank you guys for joining me. Great to be back in the live format. Mary Kay Cabot, by the way, because this is what I was trying to figure out early with the whole Kenny Pickett thing. I just wanted to know if that meant that he was going to be Cleveland's bridge, or if he was going to be brought in to compete. And it looks like it's the latter. Mary Kay Cabot, who covers the Browns, beat writer, says Kenny is being brought in to compete. The Browns are still likely to look for a veteran bridge QB who can start until their rookie is ready. Okay. So that tells you there from Mary Kay's reporting that they will probably use their second overall pick to get a rookie. And it looks like there's going to be potentially 3 quarterbacks competing for starting nod in Cleveland. So there you go. Appreciate you guys. Please click on that link for me in the show notes, also as a pinned comment right now, and support my brand sponsor. If you support them, you're supporting me. Thank you to Primary Residential Mortgage for the continued support of this channel. Like the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of when I'm dropping my live content and pre-recorded content and everything else that I got going on in here. Thanks to the live chat for participating. Thanks to the live callers. Much more coming up tomorrow. Sarah and I will be live over on the Vault, 12 noon Eastern. You know how it goes. Catch up with you guys soon. Later.